There is a ghost in your room. You can't see him, but you feel him. When your alarm screams, he's the voice whispering that sleep is for the weak. He's there when you look at a perfect sunset, and instead of feeling peace, you wonder how to optimize your gratitude. He's there in the quiet guilt of a Sunday afternoon, reminding you that doing nothing is a crime called wasted potential. Tonight, we go back to the beginning to ask one question. Does self-help actually help? James Allen was born in 1864 in Leicester, England. In Victorian society, circumstance was destiny. But in 1879, 15-year-old James Allen's world was shattered. His father, seeking a new start in New York, was robbed and murdered. Left penniless, Allen was forced into the knitting factories of Leicester to save his family. For a decade, he was a cog in the machine. Yet, in the industrial roar, he began to read the Stoics, the Upanishads, scripture. His intellect eventually carried him to London, serving 12 years as an executive secretary for major British firms. He had climbed from the factory floor to the mahogany desk, only to realise both were reflections of the same inner world. He formed a radical idea. Mind is the master weaver, he wrote. We weave our character and our circumstance. In 1902, he walked away from the corporate world forever to run a bed and breakfast with his wife in the quiet village of Ilfracombe in Devon. A year later, he gave the world As a Man Thinketh, leaving us with a final, haunting truth. Men are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. James Allen's idea travelled quietly for decades, a soft whisper from a seaside cottage. But then, the engine of the 20th century roared to life. Optimism was no longer a personal practice. It became a global industry. The quiet introspection of the garden was replaced by the fluorescent glare of the seminar room. Eventually, science caught up to the mystic. Psychology stripped away the magic to reveal the mental machinery, formalizing these insights into cognitive behavioral therapy. It proved what the Master Weaver already knew, that by challenging our distorted thoughts, we can fundamentally change our emotional world. For millions, this was the key to a prison cell. It told us, you are not a leaf in the wind. You have the agency to choose your response and build your own resilience. It reminds us that while we cannot command the storm, our hands are still on the wheel. But delicate ideas are fragile things, and when you take a personal truth and scale it into a global empire, something gets lost in the ink. Self-improvement stopped being about character and became about performance. Improvement became measurable, quantified, subscription-based. A single mastermind weekend can cost thousands of dollars. The global self-improvement industry is valued in the tens of billions. In this world, contentment looks like complacency. Rest looks like weakness. And good enough. It just quietly disappears. If you are the sole architect of your success, you are also the sole author of your suffering.
I did everything the book said. I tracked my sleep. I cut out low energy friends. I worked 14-hour days because hustle was a mindset. When I burnt out, I didn't blame the economy. I didn't blame the culture. I blamed myself. I thought I wasn't disciplined enough, not positive enough, not focused enough. Self-help wasn't helping anymore. It was just a list of ways I wasn't enough.
This is the shadow of the weaver. When agency becomes absolute, compassion can disappear. When someone facing systemic poverty is told to simply adjust their mindset, is that coaching? Or is it cruelty? When clinical depression is reduced to negative thinking, we aren't just ignoring science, we are ignoring the biology of the brain. An industry built on dissatisfaction depends on one thing, that you never feel finished. A peaceful person doesn't need the next course. A contented person doesn't need the 4 a.m. masterclass. The ghost whispers that you are always a work in progress, never complete, never allowed to simply exist. James Allen died in 1912. He was 48 years old. He did not build an empire. He did not create a brand. He lived quietly by the sea, teaching that the mind is a garden we must cultivate with intent. He wrote that calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom, not the calmness of doing nothing, but the governed power of a man who has mastered himself. It wasn't about productivity for the sake of profit, it was about character as the foundation of destiny. So, does self-help help? Yes. When it restores agency, when it reminds us that our thoughts shape our response to life, but it harms. When it convinces us that our worth is tied to perpetual improvement. We are architects of our thoughts, but we are not gods. You are allowed to be unfinished. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to exist. Without optimization, the Master Weaver's ghost still lingers. But sometimes, the most self-improving thing you can do is put down the book, turn off the alarm, and realize that you were already enough. We are all works in progress, so give yourself a break. And if this helped you find a moment of calm, please like or share the video to help it find someone else who needs to see it.